Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and we are about to begin. Is everyone ready? Good, good. The first thing we are going to do will be to swear each of you in as jurors in this case. So please raise your right hands, each of you. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that in the case of the state of Texas versus Naomi Loutricia Johnson, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? Lower your hands. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, by the oath that you have just taken as jurors, you have now become officials of this court and active participants in the public administration of justice, which is a great honor in a democratic, self-governing republic that we live in. If at any time you cannot clearly hear the proceedings, please raise your hand. I want to make sure that you see the evidence clearly and hear it as it is being presented. No one may discuss this case with you during your service as jurors. And likewise, do not feel offended if you happen to run into the attorneys in the hallway or in the elevator and they do little more than nod to you. To maintain the integrity of the jury system, the law prohibits them from speaking with you about this case until the end, after you are released, and you are certainly free and will have an opportunity to speak with them if you wish about your thoughts about this case and your perceptions. If someone does contact you or tries to contact you about this case while you are jurors, please report that at once to one of our bailiffs. And please do not discuss the evidence in this case with the fellow jurors until at the end, when I provide to you the closing argument, the closing arguments are made. I give you the closing instructions, and you go and into the deliberation room to deliberate on a verdict. Also, be careful about discussing this case with your spouse, significant friends, or anyone else until you are discharged from service. Also, a reminder, you are not permitted to read any newspaper articles about this trial or watch television reports about this trial or listen to radio reports about this trial while you're jurors. Yes, you can read the newspaper and watch television and listen to the radio, but if it's a story about this case while you are jurors, turn the channel, mute the sound, turn the page. Now, some people take notes, and that's all right. You can do that if you wish. But if you do, those are for your purposes only. You are not allowed to share your notes in the jury room with others. Like, look, we're talking about this, and I wrote something, and look what I wrote here when that testimony was being heard. You can't do that. They can be used only to refresh your personal recollection if you need it during your deliberations. And here's the way that's practically done. Let's say you've been taking notes and you go, I believe I took some notes about this portion. You can pull out the notes quietly and don't show them to others. You can look at it, refer to it, close it up, and then you could say something such as, I think I remember that the testimony was blank, but you can't say, look what I wrote. That would be bringing something into the deliberation room that was not admitted in evidence, which is not allowed. But you can refresh your own memory privately and then pass that information on. That is a way, and there are any number of ways that you can do it without while following the rules of conduct that you need to. Now, do not go to any of the locations referred to by the witnesses in this case, nor perform any type of individual investigation of the facts of this case on your own, because you will receive all the evidence here in the courtroom. And likewise, don't look in books, encyclopedias, or dictionaries, or go to the library, or review courthouse records in order to obtain information over and above what is presented to you during this trial. Please listen carefully to this testimony, as I know you will. No testimony will be read back to you or sent back to you in a typed form unless you disagree about a specific statement made by a witness. It's not unusual for us to have messages sent. Can we have a transcript of the testimony of Joe Blow. No, you won't get that. You're not going to get that. You can get portions, snippets of portions that you can describe you are disagreeing about particular portions, but you can't get the whole testimony. So you've got to listen closely the first time, as I know you will. Now, your oath states you will render a verdict only on the evidence submitted to you under the court's legal rulings, and the evidence you may consider will consist of the testimony of witnesses from that witness chair, and evidence may also be presented in the form of physical objects or documents, which we call exhibits. During the trial, objections are made, and when an objection is made, I must rule on it. Let's say that the state is asking a question, the defense of a witness, the defense objects. If I sustain the objection, then the witness will not be able to answer the question, but it could be asked in a different way that meets with the rules of evidence. We got so many books we work with. Rules of evidence, which is our Bible that we use, and I was on the Rules of Evidence committee that wrote this. So this is the manner and means where evidence is properly introduced. You just can't go, here's a pen, we admit it. Yeah, no, it has to be relevant, reliable, and it's subject to objections from the other side. And if it meets with the rules of evidence in proper form, then it can be admitted. And if it's any evidence is admitted, you can consider the evidence and give it how much weight and value you deem it deserves, which is what is the jury's purpose, determining what the facts are from the evidence. And if I overrule the objection, it's answered. If I sustain the objection, then the evidence is withdrawn, but it could be admitted if the lawyer, the attorney, moves to admit it in a proper form that meets with the rules of evidence. From time to time, the court will give you instructions of law like I'm giving to you today. Now, I will certainly give these instructions of law at the end before you go deliberate. Each time the court gives you an instruction of law by your oath, you must follow the court's instructions. You get to discern what the facts are. You get to determine how much weight and credibility will be given to the testimony. In considering the weight and the value of the testimony of witnesses, you can consider their appearance, their attitude, their behavior, their interest in the outcome of the matter, the relationship that they may have to the parties, the inclination of the person to tell the truth, the probability or improbability of their statements. And you've heard this one before. You can draw reasonable inferences from the statements of witnesses. And you can use all of the factors you feel will help you in giving the testimony of the witnesses the degree of credibility you feel it deserves. Now, you may be familiar with what I just told you, because this is what you do when you interact all the time. You're doing the same thing. And I'm sure you're very polite people. You're listening, but you're making decisions of when you're interacting with people, how much to believe, and what are you drawing upon? Your education, your life's experiences, common sense, and common sense, another word for another term for drawing reasonable inferences from the evidence. You fill in gaps when you interact with people. You never, ever get the full information of something. To make a decision of something, you have to still fill in gaps. There's no book that has every bit of information about any particular subject matter. There's always something missing, but you, when you're interacting, listening, and you're drawing upon those qualities that you've used in figuring out puzzles. And let's say at the end of the day, and I think I may have mentioned this, we go outside and it's cold. It's cold. There's snow all over the ground. This white stuff, cold white stuff that we recognize immediately as snow. We've been in here all day. We don't know what happened. It's June. one of two things happen: either a freakish phenomenon, which can happen in Southeast Texas from time to time, occurred where some cold front came through and brought in a freakish snowstorm. Or did 1,000 pickup trucks get man-made snow and dump it around the city of Beaumont for the amusement of the people dumping the snow? I mean, what makes sense? You know things when you see it because you go, that doesn't make any sense. And that is the same thing you will use in filling the gaps on evidence, like a puzzle. You know how puzzle pieces always get missing. Let's say you have a puzzle of the Eiffel Tower. And over time, puzzle, I don't know where those puzzle pieces end up going, but they'll go under they'll get caught under the couch or something. Anyway, before you know it, you're missing a lot of pieces, but you still have enough generally at some point to know, well, I know what the Eiffel Tower looks like, and I've got enough information. I can fill in the gaps. There's nothing else like the Eiffel Tower that looks like that, until it gets to the point where you don't have enough information and you go, I'm not beyond a reasonable doubt certain about this anymore. Point is, things are missing, but you still know beyond a reasonable doubt what the facts are. That is what you apply in all criminal cases. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to ask the state of Texas to present the indictment. The defendant shall plead to the indictment, and the parties get to make opening statements, which are brief overviews of their theory of the case and what they expect the evidence may show. The state of Texas goes first and will call witnesses because the presumption of innocence standard. The defendant is not obligated to prove their innocence. They don't go first. It's the accusing authority. And that's the way it is in all cases in the United States of America, whether it's United States federal courts or state courts or city courts. The accusing authority goes first. They will call witnesses. They will question witnesses. And when they have concluded the questioning of witnesses, the defense gets a fair opportunity to cross-examine those witnesses. And at some point in time, you will hear the state say, we rest. When that happens, the defense may or may not call evidence, keeping in mind, against the obligation is not on the defense to prove their innocence, but on the state of Texas to prove the defendant's accusation here, to prove the proof of this indictment beyond a reasonable doubt. If the defense, and many times they do, call witnesses after they have questioned the witness, then the state has a fair opportunity to cross-examine. At some point you will hear all witnesses have been concluded and the parties rest their case. When they do that, I will read to you the closing jury instructions. The lawyers will give their final arguments, and then you will go back into the deliberation room to deliberate on a verdict. At all times, it is your foremost responsibility in this case, as jurors' responsibilities in all cases, to see that justice is done in accordance with the law I provide to you and the evidence presented during the trial. At this time, I'm going to ask the state of Texas to present the indictment, and the defendant shall rise, please. Thank you.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jurors for the county of Jefferson, state aforesaid, duly organized as such at the August term AD 2020 of the 252nd District Court of Jefferson County in said county and state, upon oath in said court, present that Naomi Loutricia Johnson, hereafter styled the defendant, on or about the 30th day of June 2020, and anterior to the presentment of this indictment in the county of Jefferson, state of Texas, did then and there intentionally and knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely Kelvin McMahon, hereafter styled the complainant, by stabbing Kelvin McMahon with a knife in the manner of its use and intended use is capable of causing serious bodily injury and death against the peace and dignity of the state, signed by the foreman of the grand jury.
Naomi Loutricia Johnson, how do you plead to the indictment as just read by the state of Texas? Guilty or not guilty? Not guilty will be entered into the record, and you may be seated. At this time, the court will allow opening statements, beginning with the state of Texas.
And please, board.
Yes.
Good morning. Opening statements are not an argument. We're not going to argue a case. This is just an opportunity to us kind of give you an outline of how this is going to go, what we think the evidence is going to show. Okay. So I have to tell you, just like I told you, board hour, to be open with you, that normally what we do is we start with our first witness and we tell the story in a chronological order. But with people having lives and children and vacations and things and doctor's appointments and stuff going on, we have to kind of make arrangements to fit them in to where we can. So what you're going to hear from, first of all, you're going to hear that there was a call from a neighbor that was made to the Beaumont Police Department. You're going to hear from Officer Nathan Hodges. He's sitting in the courtroom back here. You're going to hear him first. That's why he's here. He's going to tell you that he got a call to a situation where there was a neighbor not answering the door. There was blood outside the doorstep and right on the threshold of the door. Didn't know what the situation was, but they needed to check it out. So Officer Hodges, there's going to be some other officers you're going to hear. They're going to come up. Officer Jacob Lesley. We got a slew of God, we get these, make sure I get all the names right. So Nathan Hodges, John Kenna, Jacob Lesley, and Michelle Seha from the ID Division. Carol Hargrove is going to testify today from the ID Division. Then you'll hear from Mindy Erickson, also a detective with the Beaumont Police Department, who came and looked at the scene and also talked to some people. So officers arrived. You're going to hear a bunch of them arrive to try to figure out what's going on. Since they look at the front door, they're going to tell you that they noticed that there was dried blood on the ground. It wasn't fresh, it wasn't wet, so there wasn't any exigent emergency for them to kick in the door, go in and see what's going on, but they need to check it out. So they talk about it, and since there's blood there, there's footprints of the blood, they decided what they were going to do was call the fire department and have the fire department break open the door. But first, they knocked on the door, they tried windows, they tried doors to see if anything was unlocked. Everything's all locked up. You're going to see where on his body cam, he wears his body cam, you're going to get to see how they arrived and how this all transpired. They talk to the neighbor kind of tells them, yeah, I hadn't seen him in a couple of days. I'm cutting grass before, but a couple of days ago, but hadn't seen him. No, went over to go borrow a jack. He's going to testify. Went to go borrow a jack, and there's all the blood on the door, so I tried to call them. They wouldn't answer, and so I thought I'd better call the police. So police get called. They show up, and when they get to the fire department, we'll see that they waited. It takes about, from the time they get there, and I'm going to play a video, and it's kind of boring to see all this with cops standing around, kind of talking, waiting on the police, on the fire department to show up. They're checking doors. They're kind of looking around, seeing if they can find a way in. Police, fire department gets there, they get out, put a crowbar, start doing it. You're going to hear Sergeant Ken at the time say, do they have a dog? Because I saw something move inside right before they start breaking open the door. They get the door open, you're going to hear and get to see how they made entry into the house. And what they see when they walk into the house is right in the threshold, just inside the doorway, just like inside this doorway, there's a little area right here, was covered in dried blood. And there's footprints all in it, all scattered all over there, and it's all dry. As they walk in the house to clear the house, they notice there's little things everywhere. You'll see where there's little rat poison pellets or pills and roach poison out. There's the little traps for them are broken open. There's little pills and stuff everywhere. There's vomit. You're going to hear about in different places where the pills have been vomited up. They go around and they look through the house, and as they round the corner, just inside the door, Kelvin McMahon is laying in the hallway. He's got a single stab wound to the side. There's no blood coming from the stab wound. He has his shorts that he's wearing are soaked in blood. His legs are covered with blood all the way down to the feet and on the bottom of the feet, and it's dried blood. As a matter of fact, it's already flaking off of him. You're going to hear how they cleared the rest of the house, and as they come past him into the bedroom, they find the defendant laying on the bed, She is incoherent. She is moaning, mumbling, and EMT goes in, and they determine that she has drank a bunch of stuff. You're gonna see on the dresser. There's some antifreeze. There's some drain cleaner. There's some acetone for nail cleaning. There's some soda bottles. There's all kinds of things, and they ask her if she drank all that, and she says yes. You're going to hear the MT talk about what that is, but Officer Hodges is going to tell you that they ask her why did what happened, and all she says is he abused me. So you're going to hear her say that. Then the EMTs get in there and begin working on her. She's not answering many questions other than to say yes, she took this, and you'll hear her in the background when the EMTs asking her about how long it had been, minutes, hours, and she's going to say hours, and that's, you don't hear her say that, but you hear him say how many times. And so they're trying to determine what to do with her. They take her out of the house through a window because they've got two situations. One is it's pretty cramped space in there, and she's a large woman, but that's not the reason. The reason is because they've also got a crime scene that they've got to go through. They can't just, go stomping through and step on Kelvin McMahon and get out. So what they do is, and you're going to hear Kimberly Perkins, who's from the MT, say this is the first time they took somebody out a window. But they went out the window, got her out, and took her to the hospital. You're going to get to see pictures of her in the hospital. You're going to hear Kimberly Perkins say that there was they noted a bruise on her thigh, that there was a bruise on her eye, that there was an older yellowing bruise on her other eye, but that was the extent of her injuries other than drinking the poison. You're going to get to hear how the officer saw that Kelvin McMahon had one single stab wound, and it was upper abdomen towards his chest. You'll get to see where it is. I think it's on his left side. He has a t-shirt tied around his waist, almost like a tourniquet kind of thing, but it's not around the wound. It's just there, but it's got blood on it. He has no shirt on. He has no shoes on. There is a butter knife laying between his legs, and I'll show you that butter knife. But what you're also going to see is on his body, and you'll learn this through the witnesses, all the witnesses, is you'll see some white powdery drag marks. And I told you there's going to be poison throughout the house, different parts where it's thrown up and different things. You're going to get to see where he was laying there by the door. You can tell. You can see a little swirl that kind of goes back towards the hallway. It's footpath back and forth, but it's also a little swirl. And you can tell he was drug around the corner. But to get him there, you have to drag him through the door because it's a really tight corner to get around that corner. So you drag him through the door just like you would furniture. You know how you back up furniture like this, and you go this way. Now, he was drugged, and you can see where there's some white powdery substance that he was drugged through, and it was drugged there. And so his being brought over to where he was in the hallway is not where he was originally laying when he died. You'll see there's no blood there at all. The only time you're going to see blood in that area that would say anything happened there is when they roll him over to put him on, to get him in the body bag and everything. Some of it gets on the baseboard, and you'll see it kind of treated down the baseboard. There's no blood anywhere else except the dried blood on him where he's laying. In the bed with her, you're going to hear the officer say that you're going to see it on the camera. They found a package. There's a package of 3 knives. And 2 of them were still in the package, but the smallest one is out of the package and is laying there with her in the bed, just free of the package. It's their kitchen knives. And they're also going to tell you that there were blood droplets, dried blood droplets, in the kitchen. And so it's going to be our theory that she maybe either cleaned up the knife or used a different knife and went that way with it in the kitchen. They also find a note. You're going to hear the officer say, and you're going to hear them read the note. They find a note on the coffee table, and I'm going to bring you that note. And that note is going to say, you'll know, dear family, so very sorry about this. So many bad this was happening to me. I was being beaten. I hope to make it to the new world. Love forever in my heart. Naomi, y'all little sis. And on the side it says, my bank card number is 1234 no cremated, have me. Can't read that last of no service. So when you read this, let me make sure I'm reading the right. Cremated, have me cremated, no service, that's what it says. So you'll see that that note was left behind, and that's the only note that we have of her admitting that she did it, that she was sorry, but that she was trying to kill herself. You're also going to hear from other officers who appeared at the scene that looked through this entire scene, and you'll hear that they didn't note, anyone that saw her didn't note any major injuries on her, any type of injuries that showed she'd been in a real battle or any type of abuse that was happening immediately upon this happening. You're gonna hear the lady that goes, Carol Hargrove, who's from the ID division of the Beaumont Police Department, who goes to the hospital and photographs her. She's gonna show you, you'll get to see her body, so you get to see where the injuries were on her, the bruise on her leg, the small bruise on her eye, the little fading one on her other eye. You'll get to see all this. You won't see any other injuries on her. She's not bleeding anywhere. She does have some scratches on her wrist, which looks like she tried to scratch her wrist to kill herself as part of this deal with all the poisons and stuff. You're going to hear from James Wortham, who's the one who called the police. You're going to hear his 911 call. Just it's a standard 911 call. It's not one of those panicky ones that they saw something happen, but just to give you an idea of what he was saying or thinking at the time that this all happened. When you get to the part when the police leave and they start investigating, you're going to hear from somebody by the name of Audwin. Graylin was married to the defendant at the time, and she was living with Kelvin McMahon, and you're going to get to hear their relationship. You're going to get to hear why he showed up over there to check on what was going on whenever a neighbor called him and said they'd seen this happening. So you'll get to hear from him on the prior relationship they had, and what the prior relationship that the defendant had with Kelvin McMahon. You're also going to get to hear from Hattie Jackson and Spencer Jackson. Hattie Jackson is Kelvin McMahon's mother. Spencer is his brother. And you're going to get to hear about the toxic relationship between the two. You're going to hear the other side of the story. You always have in divorces, there's always someone saying, I was abused, this is going on, and then you have the other side of the story and what he's saying to his family. So you're going to get to hear what they saw, what they've seen, what they've heard, and you're going to get to know the exact relationship. And I can't go into that right now with certain restrictions. But you're going to get to hear from them. There's some other witnesses you're going to hear from, and we'll talk about those whenever we get there. But right now, I think when you get through looking at all this, you're going to look at the fact that there were just so slight injuries, that there was no real threat, that there was no reason for there to be a deadly force used, which is what we're talking about, immediately necessary, and that a reasonably prudent person wouldn't have done what she did. I think it'll be obvious once you get through this trial. So thank you for your time.
Does the defense want to make an opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you. Good morning. You're going to hear a lot of evidence. You're going to hear a lot of assumptions. There were two people there, Naomi and Kelvin. But we believe the evidence will show that on Friday, June 26th, Naomi came home from work and was in the kitchen preparing dinner. She heard something in the house. She turned around and standing in the kitchen is Kelvin McMahon. Knowing he had been ordered not to go to the house, stay away from it, he was standing and she saw an angry, intoxicated. She saw danger in his eyes. You will find that they began to argue. To avoid the argument, she turned back around to the kitchen sink to continue preparing her dinner. all of a sudden, when she turned, she saw him coming at her. She grabbed a knife off the counter, jugged at him to get him back, but she stuck him in the stomach. She immediately ran to the back of the house. You'll find that there was no way to exit the back of the house. There was one way in and one way out. Where do you go when there's nowhere to go? Who do you call when no one will hear you? Reasonable belief that he was there to hurt her. He came at her. She reacted in a manner to protect herself, to get him back, but she stuck him. That's the imminent danger. He's not supposed to be there by court order. Accusing her of trying to get him sent to prison so she could get back with her husband. You will hear testimony. But in the end, only two people knew what happened. She's the one. The rest will be left to you. The burden on the state to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Naomi did not act justified. Her act was not justified to defend herself from danger or death.
Your first witness?
Paul Nathan Hodges, Judge.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat. Thank you.
State your name for the record, please.
Nathan Hodges,
And where do you work?
Beaumont Police Department.
I know it's kind of a silly question, but we gotta get on the record. How long have you been working for Beaumont Police Department?
It was made 4 years.
Back on June 30th of 2020, were you a Beaumont police officer?
Yes, sir, I was.
In what capacity? Were you still patrol?
Yes, sir, I was.
Were you being trained at that time?
Yes, sir, I was.
Who was training you?
Officer Lesley.
Okay, so when Officer Lesley comes testified, you two kind of hung together a little bit during this stop, didn't you? Or
Yes,
this
sir.
call. What was the nature of the call? Do you remember?
Yes, sir, it was just a check welfare.
Did you have any idea what y'all were checking on when you got there, just other than checking on the welfare of somebody?
That's it, yes.
Do y'all get a lot of calls like that, check on the welfare of somebody?
Yes, pretty often.
What do y'all do when you get there?
Try to make contact if we're able to make contact. We'll just let whoever the original caller know that they obviously check with them. Obviously, we can't make contact at first. We obviously investigate it, so we pretty much can. So,
Okay. So in this case, did y'all, when you showed up, did you try to make contact with whoever's inside the house?
yes, sir.
How'd you do that?
Well, I mean, just knocking on the door, walking around with residents, see if there is, any indications of anything further. Really, other than that, that's when you start pushing it, trying to see what you got.
Did y'all talk to a neighbor who was next door?
Yes, sir, the original call.
Okay. And did you also determine that maybe there was something going on because of what was at the front door?
Yes, sir, just seeing the blade footprints pretty much indicated that, hey, we need to investigate this a little bit closer, so.
Now, the bloody footprints by themselves, do they mean anything? I mean,
No, not, sometimes, I mean, obviously, people have bloody noses, they step on glass inside the house. So, no, not normally,
Okay.
not all the time.
but did the concern grow whenever y'all couldn't get a hold of anybody in the house?
Yes, sir, I do.
So what did you decide to do to get inside the house?
After pretty much determining that we couldn't get inside the house, contact the supervisor, let them know what we had after contacting our supervisor. Obviously you gotta contact fire and, try to, make a forced entry.
So why do y'all contact fire to make forced entry? They have all the tools?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a little bit safer, in regards to that, so.
Okay. So again, before y'all made the entry with the fire department, did y'all knock on the doors, make sure?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we knocked on the door and checked around the whole residence to see if there's any open windows, anything that indicated that we need, or that would assist us getting inside.
So watching this video, it was about 26 or 27 minutes before y'all even got in the house. Is that right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And once inside the house, what's your first priority?
To make contact with whoever's inside the house, make sure everybody's okay. Everybody's,
Do you also clear the house make sure there's nobody else in there that could have caused any problem?
yes, sir.
I mean, y'all got not only checking on welfare, but you also have to concern yourself with officer safety.
Correct, yes, sir.
So, were you one of the ones that went inside the house?
Yes, sir, I was.
And did you go with them throughout the house to clear the house?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you walked in the front door, do you remember what was on the floor in the front door?
Yes, sir. There's a large pool of dry blood.
Now, it wasn't wet, was it?
No, sir.
Was it all totally dry?
Yes, sir, it was.
So y'all didn't track it anywhere when you walked, did you?
No, sir.
When you came in and started clearing the house, did you find someone in the hallway of that home?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what condition was he in?
He appeared to be deceased.
Could you tell what might have killed him?
There was a large laceration, so like possibly a stab wound.
Okay. And did you find anyone else in the house?
Yes, sir, I did.
What did y'all find? Who else did you find in the house?
Miss Naomi.
Okay. Now, would you recognize Naomi Johnson? Sorry again?
Other than that call, yes, sir.
Okay. Can you point to, did you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Can you point to her, describe something she's wearing?
Yes, sir. Sorry. She's wearing looks to be a black cardigan.
Record reflects he's identified as defendant.
Yes, it will.
So when you found her, where was she?
She was laying in the bed, in the front bedroom.
What kind of shape was she in?
She appeared to be kind of lethargic, a little bit of vomiting, would be tired.
Did anybody try talking to her?
Yes, sir, I was aiming Ingested.
Did any officer talk to her and ask her what happened?
Yes, sir, I believe Officer Lesley did. And I mean, that's when she pretty much indicated she was abused, and that's all that she said.
Okay. She didn't say anything like he was trying to kill me. She just said, he abused me.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Can you hear that on your tape?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you're doing all this, you have your body mic or your body cam on, right?
Yes, sir.
And that body cam, how does it activate?
You pretty much, that was the older body cams, you had to press it twice, and it would instantly turn on.
Okay, so when we first put this in, plug it in, does it start from the time you go in the house, or where does it start?
So our typical, or our normal policy was that it pretty much started before you even exited your vehicle.
Okay, so we're gonna see your arms kind of driving,
Correct, yes, sir.
and with the sound, what's the deal with the sound? Does it come on immediately?
No, sir, it does not.
Does it take about 30
Yes,
seconds?
sir.
And do you know what the reason is before that?
Honestly, I truthfully do not.
Okay, but that's the way whenever y'all upload your, no, you take your body cam and upload it somewhere,
Yes, sir.
and so the detectives or whoever can get your body cam off, right?
Correct, yes, sir.
And for that call, whenever you push that button,
Mhm.
when you upload it, it backs up about 30 seconds, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Just to make sure it gets the whole call.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me show you what's marked State's Exhibit 1. Did you watch this morning in my office?
Yes, sir, I did.
And does it fairly and accurately depict what happened that day
Yes, sir, it does.
on June 30th, 2020?
Correct, yes, sir.
Interstate 1,
No objection.
Without objection, admitted,
permission to play, publish.
granted.
For the record, I'm only playing about 37 to 40 minutes of this judge, but it's 5 hours long. You were there, y'all were there for quite some time, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Into the dark hours,
Yes, sir.
but, I'll leave the rest if the jury wants to see anything after that.
You know their name?
Well, I called, the guy name is Rick Baker. I ain't still living alone.
We'll stop it right there. Did he just say he saw him 2 days ago mowing the grass?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. You called him Big Baby?
Yes, sir.
I went over there to get a jacket, and I was talking before I started talking about it. I went to ask him that thing, that's why I'm talking. Black, but I beat on the floor and I called. It's enough for you. Police department.
What's his name?
Because he told me this is his phone number. I'm calling him right now. He told me this is his phone number, but she answered when I called him. That's why I'm going to so, yeah, same time.
Just to give the jury some perspective, why are y'all just standing around? What are you waiting on?
Right now, we're just waiting to see if we can, find another means to make contact with the, homeowner.
Now, your training officer's already kind of radioed in, or we saw him radio in, he was asking for another potential contact number?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He's smart. Because he left his original people on. You own it? No, oh, you own it. Yeah. So the way that we just own it, the way that actual events are, is they walked into the side and they were manufactured that way for rock climbing. A lot of people came out the room and started to go rock climbing, and then they had a bunch of blowout because the rim's not actually locked into the actual tire. I wonder if that tire is like transformed, two locked into the actual rim, like the original tires on the. Yeah. We didn't either, and then we went to go get like a set of rims and oil. And that's what they do, like, treat only keep the original rims, and we're like, no, it's like, well, my wife just got powder coat or something, and they explained it all to us, and I'm like, oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's fine. I just bought 2 months ago, I'm sending it from there on the building. Yeah. All he said was big baby. I mean, that was the thing, that he never got an actual one. Yeah. You don't know his real name, right? Real first name? Okay. Yeah. For all I heard. Yeah. I mean, you had good money. When I worked at Wixie Crane, we had to do that was like, full blown technicians, and he did lawn mowing on the side. And he said he made more money lawn mowing than he did at Wixie Crane. Mind you, he was getting paid $30 an hour in a week. Yeah. He was making good money at Wixie Crane. Yeah.
Water file, since the voice note's not set up, I'll try. I mean, yeah, like I chose the 20th away from the road, but there's also blood.
At this point, is your training officer calling his supervisor?
Yes, sir, it is.
And what's the reason for that?
Just because of the circumstances and get approval for fire.
Could y'all find another number? Did he say y'all could find another number or not? For
Honestly,
contact.
I don't recall.
Okay. So when he's saying on there earlier, just in the video, you could hear him say, there wasn't any other contact.
Yes, sir.
So he's getting permission to get fire department to get into the house. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And we're at, almost 13 minutes into this call, right?
Yes, sir.
Not the borderline, so, I just, weird. Alright, I'm calling to make sure. Alright, thanks, sir.
No, I didn't, that's what I was just looking at, no fire.
So is he just checking the door?
Yes, sir.
Is that why you kind of got ready in case you went in?
Correct, yes, sir. Camera on it. Yeah, hello.
$47, $97, $57, $30.
That's thanks about it. That you last saw in about 2 days ago. Saturday.
I asked him what day it was.
About what time was that? Well,
Video one, someone saying,
to the TF medical history. Are they on big bad with each other? They do the bottle off. Okay. Wow. They,
oh, Rich,
do you go? You go. Okay, so the primarily imprint.
He tried to hurt it. Hold it out. He got
But they do already like. What about her? Do you know anything about her? So he is.
yeah, it was down here, you know, we talk about.
Do you know her name?
My daughter.
Black female.
That was her on that board.
And, is he black now? He said about 50. About how old is she?
Maybe around the same.
All right, what we're doing right now is we got fire department around, might have to do 4th century, because of what we have. We need to go in there and make sure that they're okay. Okay. You're saying there's not any cords missing, there's blood on the door, you know, we need to go make sure they're okay. They don't need medical attention, or if they're, at worst case, they're deceased. Okay. So,
Cause usually I call them, yeah. I call them, say, the guy, and I gotta do it till they, we go. They will, you know, they broke on, and all,
okay.
it's not like you're not seeing it, you know, it's not even going to work. You know, because, coronavirus, I don't have it, I just, big,
Okay.
I usually see it from,
Do they work anywhere? You know, like self-employed construction?
Yeah, for somebody. I'll put a search in there now. I thought she was into like home health or something, but I saw 2 months ago, I can't even remember.
Okay.
Well, if we need anything from you, are you gonna be here? Yeah, I'll be on my way. Everything's covered up. Inside of any of the windows.
There's a bar on the door right here too. There, completely boarded.
Yeah, every time. I'll get some smell. I think, you know, look at that door and look at the door and look up the face of the, oh, yeah. Y'all have that process?
We're gonna try and
You hear Sergeant Ken ask, there a dog in there?
Yes, sir.
And what did he say after that?
He said something moved.
And when y'all get in the house, who was in the house?
It was just Kelvin and Naomi.
Kelvin was deceased at the time, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Just real quick, before they go into the house, if there's anyone here in Kelvin's family that doesn't want to see him in the house, you might want to step out. I'll make sure I haven't had a chance to talk to them.
All right. Everyone right there. You're right. On my way. They're on the crossing. All right. Suffer, okay.
Just kind of from jury's perspective, you're not covering up your body, Mike, with your hands, are you?
No, sir, I'm simply just putting my weapon down so I don't fly the other officer.
Okay, so you have a weapon in your hand, and sometimes you extend it, sometimes you're putting it down.
Correct, yes, sir.
Put it back there. All right, I know that is on the room. Police department. Yep. Ma'am. Ma'am. Got one breathing. One breathing? Ma'am, police department, police department. Hey, we need one of those fire guys, we need a medic. Ma'am, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? I'm not sure.
There's weapons in there.
What's going on? Can you talk to me? Talk to me. Huh? Yeah, huh? One more time. All right, I'm gonna get those glasses. Yeah, grab those glasses.
What are you getting off the bed?
It was 2 package knives and 1 loose knife.
Make sure there's nothing to fill. What's your name, ma'am? Well, you can talk a little louder. How long have you been in here?
That in the hallway. That you're looking at.
Officer Lesley and then, Kelvin laying down.
Okay, so Kelvin's laying down here at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any injuries? Are you hurt? Did you stop? Did you stop? Are you hurt? I want to be here no more. Unknown type of problem. Let's get it out. Let's get it out. Hey, what are you doing with the rat? What's the rat poison on the bed for? Hey. Try to take something? Take the rat tail poison? Get the heck, what lady? Thank you very much. Don't be poison. No, leave it right there. I'm gonna buy it. Anything you have to avoid me? That's great. You made a second poison. Hey. Did you try to take that? Yes. How long ago? Minutes, hours? What's your name, man? I need you to tell me your name. I can't hear you. Your name, Naomi? No. No press. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sir?
Naomi, Audwin. Is that right?
I'll take it. Take it. No, then he was giving us a name, Naomi Audwin. On the bottom. That's.
Hours ago, like this morning, just a few hours ago. Okay. Yeah,
All right, detached, this was on June 30th, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
That was that, what day of the week was that?
It was a Tuesday.
And this house, was it in Jefferson County, Texas?
Yes, sir, it was. There it is.
Oh, but this was a Tuesday, June 30th, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's the awesome collaboration right here. Yeah, don't give us time for that.
Yeah, they're working on it right now, sorry.
What? Whatever we need to say to go to get her out, I can try out. What was on what I need for you guys? I need, okay, no one, you know, I need. No one is the purpose of your.
Taking her out through this bedroom window. They need, anybody that's out there to stand clear, nobody needs to.
No, I think it's not. Oh, that's it, yeah, sorry.
The monitor that's out front, the cardiac monitor, by the red bag and the blue bag.
Far as the witness or the non-witness, the person called in, they, male or female.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
Rosemont, potassium chloride.
This point, are they about to take her out the window?
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay. Now, you don't assist in that, do you?
No, sir, I didn't.
And after this, you'll kind of wander around the house for a little while, don't you?
Yes, sir.
There's later on, there's a body cam, there's a camera that, of the ID division that takes the whole crime scene. But did you walk through the whole house?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you notice, any bloody weapons laying around?
I think there was I didn't notice any, if I recall correctly, I believe it was just the butter knife that was in between his legs, other than that, I didn't see anything else, no, sir.
Did it look like there was any blood around him at the point where he was laying?
No, sir, not anything significant at all.
Was it all around the front door?
Yes, sir, it looked to be,
And did it look like there was a lot of footprints?
yes, sir, I mean, it was all mixed in with bad blood from obviously going in and out of the house.
Okay. And also the neighbor that had called in said he had just seen him 2 days ago mowing the grass, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's what he stated.
And this happened on Tuesday, June 30th, so that would have been the 28th, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Now, did you have, other than going through here, you didn't collect any evidence yourself, did you?
No, sir, I didn't.
And you didn't investigate anything other than what we see here walking around the house?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Were you able to ever talk to her any at all?
No, sir.
Was she just saying just one or two words and responding by nods to you?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you looked, did you notice yourself any injuries on Naomi Johnson while she was laying in bed?
No, sir, at the time, I just couldn't see anything.
You were kind of standing there for a little while. Was there any major injuries that you could see?
No, sir, truthfully, I didn't see anything.
What about on him? Did you notice any injuries on him?
Just a large laceration.
Was it a pretty good sized laceration?
Yes, sir.
And did it look like he'd been there a little while?
Yes, sir.
Could you see anything like flies or anything coming out of his mouth, nose, or did you stay there that long?
I didn't see anything.
Okay. I'll pass witness, Judge.
Good morning, Officer Thomas.
Morning, sir.
How long did you say you've been with DPD?
As of right now, I've been here for approximately 4 years.
Okay, and when you first, before you went to BPD, did you attend the academy?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, and at the academy, did they teach you how to do reports?
Yes, sir, they did.
And you did a report, in this case, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when they teach you to do a report, they teach you to put everything that you find in that report, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that report prepared for detectives to have the facts that you've seen?
Yes, sir. It is.
And it's also, it's known that these reports are forwarded to the prosecutor, to the district attorney's office when there are charges filed.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And you're taught to write the report so that the investigating officers, the detectives, will be able to know what you saw, and the district attorney would be able to know what you saw. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so it's very important that you get everything in your report,
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay, and these are called supplemental reports
This is primary, I was a primary report officer.
because you and Officer Lesley
Correct, yes,
were the first ones on the scene. Okay, now, when you got there, you met with Mr. Worthing,
yes, sir.
okay, and you talked with him out there, and that was all recorded on your body cam, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did you later go with him, downtown?
No, sir.
Okay, so that was the last encounter you had with Mr. Worthing,
That's correct. Yes, sir.
okay? Now, in that conversation with him, he did tell you that on occasions, Naomi Johnson would come to his garage to, get away from Kelvin Royce, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay, and you put that in your statement, correct?
I don't think so, no, sir. I can't remember it, but I can get a second to read through it real fast.
Okay.
No, sir, I think.
Okay, so how did you just recall that in preparation for today? You
Yes,
recall
yes.
that he told you that she would come to the garage to get away?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but it's not in the report.
No, sir, it's
Okay, that's okay. Yes, sir.
unchanged.
Okay. Now, as you went around the house, did you actually go around the house with him?
Yes, sir, for both sides, yes, sir.
Okay, from your memory, is your memory better today after seeing your statement and refreshing your memory? Or was it better then when you took the report and wrote the report?
It's definitely better today. I mean, it's,
It
Oh.
is?
yes, sir, it was a lot to take in that day.
Okay,
I believe it's like the second week, if I'm not mistaken.
okay, so you were relatively new.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so when you got there, you began to go around the house. That was you and Officer Lesley. Y'all were the first two on the scene.
Yes, sir.
And you checked for open windows or doors. Is that correct? First you knocked to see if anybody was in there. So you mentioned you went with Lesley, or were y'all together, or did y'all go on your own to do these checks?
A great majority of the time I was with my, officer. And so,
Okay, now, when you were with her, did you ever see any movement in the house?
no, sir, I didn't.
Okay. That's why there's no record of movement in your report, because you didn't see it.
Correct, yes, sir.
So that was what your partner said.
I was Sergeant. Yes.
Oh, Sergeant Kenner.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so your partner didn't see movement either.
I don't know what these things are. I don't want to say what I see.
Okay. Okay. So if someone said there was movement, that would be somebody else's statement,
Yes.
not what you saw.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You didn't see any movement.
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay. Now, you went around the house checking windows and doors, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you find any open windows?
No, sir.
Did you find any open doors?
No, sir.
How many doors do you recall at that house?
There was the front, back, and then the sliding door, so 3.
Okay, so the front door was locked,
Yes, sir.
the back door was locked,
Yes, sir.
and the patio door was locked.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Did you, after you went in, did you have opportunity to see those entrances or exits at that time?
Yes, sir. If I do recall, yes, sir, we did. I believe we double checked them.
Okay. On the rear door, was there a board across the door?
Yes, sir.
So no one could enter or exit the back door?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And was there something preventing the patio door from being open and shut?
Yes, sir. There was the board at the bottom.
Okay. And that meant only entrance or exit would be the front door.
Yes, sir.
Do you know who barricaded those doors?
No, sir. I didn't.
For all you know, it could have been Naomi. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It could have been anybody that lived there.
It could have been anybody.
Yes,
It could have been someone that did not live there.
Yes, sir.
So you don't know,
No, sir.
but you know there was only one way in and one way out.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you said when you went in, you saw blood.
Yes, sir.
Do you know whose blood it was?
I mean, at the time, no, sir. I don't know exactly.
Okay, it could have been anybody's blood.
Yes, sir.
Could have been Naomi's blood.
Could have been anybody. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you saw footprint in the blood. Whose footprint was it?
I'm not 100% sure.
So you don't know.
No, sir.
Could have been Naomi's blood, footprint,
Yes, sir. Could have been.
could have been Kelvin's footprint.
Correct, yes, sir.
You never tested the blood,
No, sir. I'm not a medical examiner.
okay? Now, one thing was interesting. Would you tell me if you recorded that you found the case knife? Did you find the case knife on the floor?
Are you talking about the butter knife?
The butter knife?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, and where was that butter knife?
It was below, Kelvin.
Okay. Do you know how it got there?
No, sir. I didn't.
Do you know who put it there?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you move the knife?
No, sir. I didn't, sir.
This was a crime scene.
Yes, sir.
Normally, when there's a crime scene, no one moves a knife, right? Or anything.
Yes, sir.
And you try not to interrupt anything that's going on in the house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me on what page and what paragraph of your report you mentioned the butter knife?
I didn't mention it.
Excuse me?
I didn't mention it, or I'm not finding where I mentioned it.
Okay, you did not mention the butter knife that you found?
No, sir. I did not.
Okay. Could a butter knife cause a wound?
Yes, sir. It did.
Could cause a pretty large wound, correct?
Yes, sir. It did.
Okay. Who was the first one to find Kelvin's body?
I believe it was Officer Lesley.
Officer Lesley?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then were y'all, she was, okay, help me to understand why she was first. The first one. So you all were not together, but you all were accompanying one another as you cleared the house.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, so that meant you all were in close proximity
Yes, sir. We were well within each other.
and you were never away so that one of y'all could be approached by anyone that you didn't know was in the house.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you see her pick up the butter knife?
No, sir. I didn't see her.
Okay. Okay. So you all continue to look and search through the house, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you then begin to talk to Mr. Word. Outside, was that outside?
Yes, sir. It was outside.
That's why was that before the entry?
Yes, sir. It was before the.
Okay, so while you were waiting for the fire department to come so that you can get in, so we're kind of moving back to that point. So while you were waiting, he told you that many times Naomi would come to his house at his garage to avoid Kelvin.
Yes, sir.
He also told you that they argued quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
Did he also tell you that there were times that he would see him drag Naomi back into the house?
He stated that he would simply just call Naomi to come back inside. He said that, if I recall, he stated that it was never an aggressive manner. It was just, hey, come on back in.
Okay, did you put that in the report?
No, sir, I didn't.
If an officer that was out on the scene with you said, Mr. Wortham said that outside. Would that be true or untrue?
Stated what?
Stated that he witnessed Kelvin dragging her back into the house.
Again, it's whatever the other officer would say, sir.
Okay. So you don't really know that?
No, sir.
Okay. Mention finding a pack of knives,
Yes,
right? And in that pack, there were 3 knives. Well, it appeared that 3 knives came in that pack.
correct, yes, sir.
2 of the knives were in the pack, correct?
Yes, sir.
And 1 was out of the pack, correct?
Yes, sir.
It was the biggest knife in the pack that was out, right?
The smallest, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh. Okay. The smallest knife,
Yes, sir.
big, medium, small, something like that?
However long they are, yes, sir.
You don't
I don't,
recall?
I don't recall the exact length.
Okay, but you do recall that there was no blood on any of those knives.
Yes, sir.
2 was still in the pack. The big one, the medium one, was still in the pack.
Yes, sir.
The little one was on the bed.
Yes, sir.
Who put them on the bed?
I don't know, sir.
Did y'all do any fingerprint tests to find out who had handled the knives?
I normally say I need him, sir.
Okay, but you don't know.
No, sir, I don't know.
Well, as they were asking Naomi questions, you were moving about, correct?
Yes, sir.
Some things you heard, some things you didn't,
Yes, sir.
correct? Did you hear her say he was abusing her?
Yes, sir, I do.
Did she say abusing or beating?
I believe he said he abused me.
Okay. Is that in your report?
Yes, sir, I believe it is. Yes, sir.
Right. Can you tell me what paragraph of your report it says that?
It's gonna be the 6th paragraph, sir.
Okay. And in that paragraph, she said what?
He abused me.
Okay. And what about the last paragraph of the page? Did she state that Kelvin was abusing her?
What, the very last paragraph? of that?
Yes, sir. On the first page. Didn't she say he was beating her?
Are you talking about in reference to the suicide note?
I'm talking about the last paragraph of your report. Did you say it was stated that he was beating her? Last paragraph
Oh, I see.
and the second line of that paragraph, it's at the end of the first sentence, it says, "I was being beaten." Is that what she said?
I'm still not, honestly, I'm still not seeing it, sir. But you showed me. Cause I think they printed out differently.
Okay. Does this appear to be your supplemental report?
Yes, sir, it is.
And,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, it's on this one.
okay. What is that? She was what?
Found a suicide note. By officer. Officer Lesley.
And in that note, what does that say?
It said I was being beaten.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You didn't see it, but that's what was in the note.
Yes, sir.
Did you see the bruises to her leg?
No, sir, I didn't.
So you didn't do an evaluation, right? You left that to the EMTs.
Correct, yes, sir.
You stood by
Yes, sir.
and did the investigation.
Yes, sir.
You don't know how those poisons got there, do you?
No, sir, I did not.
You don't know really if they were poisons. You know the bottles, but you don't know if poisons were in them.
I know a normal person wanted to ingest them.
I asked,
Yes,
do
sir.
you know if that was poison that was in the bottle?
No, sir, I didn't.
You don't know whether she voluntarily or was forced. Or you know, somebody could have forced her to drink, correct?
Yes, sir.
How much time passed between the last time a witness said they saw her on what, Saturday?
It was 2 days ago, it would have been, yeah, approximately Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. That's the last time Mr. Wortham saw her.
Yes, sir.
And then what day is this that you were called out?
Tuesday.
A Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
So you don't know how the containers got into the house, do you?
No, sir. I
You
didn't.
don't know who brought them into the house, do you?
No, sir.
And you don't know if Naomi voluntarily, you don't know if she even took the poisons, do you?
No, sir, I didn't.
And if it was poison, someone could have very easily forced her to take poison, right?
Yes, sir, yes, yes, sir.
Or she could have voluntarily drank.
I don't know.
You don't know.
No, sir.
Pass the witness.
So if it's Tuesday and 2 days before, someone saw Kelvin mowing grass on Sunday,
Yes, sir.
would he have been dead on Friday night? Would he been, if he'd have been stabbed, if someone's story was I stabbed him and killed him Friday night?
No, sir.
Okay, so also, looking at the door, when y'all came in, what was blocking the door?
As soon as you first walked in. it
Yeah, was there
full of
anything-
blood.
Was there anything blocking the door?
Oh, no, sir.
Was there anything keeping her from opening the door because he's dead?
No, sir.
Okay, so he's dead around the corner. Did it look like there was any blood around him around the corner?
No, sir.
So he had to be moved from the blood to where there was no blood, right?
Truthfully, I don't know what it appeared like.
So if there's only two people in that house and one of them moved the other body out of the way, they still have the capability of opening up the door, wouldn't they?
Yes, sir.
And walking out the door
Yes, sir.
and going to the neighbors or calling somebody for help, right?
Yes, sir.
But when you got in there, where was the only other person alive in this house?
In the front bedroom.
And did they ask her, did you ingest this stuff?
Yes, sir. They
And,
did.
and did they ask her when, hours or minutes?
Yes, sir. They asked both.
And they said, how many hours? Right?
I believe, yes, sir.
Okay. And so there was a suicide note, was there not?
Yes, sir, there was.
Okay. And she even gave them her bank card number and everything and wanted to be cremated.
Yes, sir.
Does that sound like somebody forced her to do it, or does it sound like she voluntarily did?
It would sound like a volunteer.
Okay, I'll pass it.
You have
Pass
anything? Okay,
Can this man be excused?
Please, Judge.
Your excuse, sir. We're gonna take a break, ladies and gentlemen. About 5 to 10 minutes. Refresh yourself. Report back outside. Thank you very much. Record shall show that the jury is seated in the courtroom. And the parties are present. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, if you would be so kind to bear with us, what we're going to do is work until, we're gonna work until about 1 o'clock, or the next two witnesses have been completed. We have to break this afternoon after that for a matter that needs to be taken care of outside the presence of the jury. So thank you for bearing with us. So what we're going to do is Mr. Laird has another witness or two, and then we will break for the day and be back at 9 o'clock in the morning to pick up where we left off. Okay, thank you. You may call your next witness.
Kimberly Perkins.
Raise your right hand, man. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Lower your hands.
And state your name for the jury.
Kimberly Perkins.
Ms. Perkins, how are you employed?
I work for the city of Beaumont Fire Department,
How long have you worked for them?
7 years.
What do you do for
Yeah.
them? UMT basic, what does that mean?
So we have three levels. The basic is just the basics where you first aid and you have a skill set that is that is. And then the level above that is intermediate, and they have a certain skill set, and the paramedic has a skill set that is where you put medications and they have a skill set.
Okay. Now, when you ride, do you ride with the fire department or do you ride with an ambulance?
I ride an ambulance.
Back on June 30th of 2020, did you get dispatched to a place on Booker Street?
Yes.
Was it 3030 Booker Street?
Yes.
What was the purpose of the call?
We got called out for a poisoning.
Do you often get poisoning calls?
Often.
Really? It just surprises me. About how often do you get them?
I would say maybe a couple times a month. Yeah.
So is it usually people that took something they didn't know that was poison at the time, or is it kids, or what is it?
It's a mixture of both.
Okay. So you've seen poisonings over the years,
Yes.
and when you see them, what are some things that you look for when you see poisonings?
The contents of what's around, what could have been taken or consumed.
There are certain symptoms that you see in a person that's been poisoned, or is it just different every time?
It depends on the material that was consumed, that they were exposed to. Based on age.
Okay, so let's say when you get to 3030 Booker Street, what did you find when you got there?
From the time we showed up.
Yeah, when you got in, when you showed up, were there police already there?
Police were there, Ingested. When we were walking up the house, there were vehicles in the driveway. There were bloody footprints on the concrete outside leading into the house.
Were they dried or was it still wet?
They were dry.
So it's dried blood leading into the house.
There was blood in the entryway to the house leading to the hallway. There was an officer standing at the entryway of the hallway, like when you come through the door, there was a hallway to the right, there was an officer standing there leading or pointing us in the direction of the bedroom where the patient was.
Okay.
When I turned the corner, there was a body on the floor.
Now this body on the floor, you say body, was this person alive or deceased?
Deceased.
Okay. Could you tell whether they had been deceased shortly or been deceased for a little while?
They had been removed.
What made you think that?
There was, there was dried blood everywhere on them, like as far as just a quick glance. And then they were very stiff in the position that hasn't been moved.
Okay. So just judging by the look at it, they've been dead for a while. All right. So did you go further into the house?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Past, down the hall to the bedroom, which was at the very end of the hallway. And there was a left bed to the left-hand side of the room. And that was where the patient was found in the bed.
Okay, was she conscious? Was she coherent?
She was conscious, but she was salivating heavily. Fire personnel gave us the rundown that, it looked like she had taken some rat poisoning that was laying in the bed. And, she wasn't really responding to them, so that was the report that we had received.
Okay. So rat poison, what, did she show signs of ingesting rat poison?
Yes, heavy salivating, she was conscious, but she wasn't really responding. She could look at you and turn her head, but she wasn't able to converse.
Okay, so she couldn't converse. Could she answer simple questions?
If you asked in a yes or no manner, she could shake her head.
Okay, so if one of the EMTs, she said, he abused me, she could get out some words.
That was prior to arrival, she never made a sentence with that.
So what was the first thing that we needed to do to make sure she's okay?
To make sure that she has a patent airway and that she doesn't have an airway obstruction that could cause her to stop breathing.
Did she seem to be breathing okay?
She was breathing adequately, but she had a lot of heavy salivation, which could tell was potentially compromised.
So did they insert an airway into her?
No,
Okay, so what treatment and all was done at the time that she was in that bed before they took her out of the house?
basic vitals, blood pressure, cardiac monitor, other than that, and like SpO2 to monitor oxygen levels,
With a poisoning like that, is there much you can do at that point?
at that point.
Okay.
Just monitoring for airway compromise.
Did you notice any injuries on her body?
We did.
Okay, what type of injuries did you note on her body?
Some bruising to the face. And at that time, it was mostly just to the face, because we hadn't, done a further exam. So it was dark in the house, we were having to use flashlights.
Okay.
And so, our main concern was getting her out to the ambulance, so we had a better working environment to be able to do it.
When doing the full assessment inside the ambulance, was there any bruising or anything noted on her?
There was bruising to the abdomen and bruising to the left upper thigh.
Was it major bruising or was it just bruising?
The left eye looked darker in color,
Okay.
I'm sorry, the right eye was darker in color, the left had yellowing, so, I would say that the right eye was a little bit newer.
Okay.
And so it wasn't, her eye wasn't swollen shut, but you could tell that there had been some type of, injury.
Some type of injury there, but it wasn't swollen shut. Wasn't swollen at all.
There might, I don't,
You didn't note any.
I just noticed the bruising.
Okay, so the other eye, you said that there was some yellow. What does that mean?
Where a bruise, is healing,
Okay.
and so they've been improving.
What about the abdomen? Was it a major bruise or you just noted bruising?
It was purple in color.
Okay, so it was newer. But did you note it as anything that needed to be treated?
So there wasn't anything that we could do for that.
What other bruise did you notice?
There was one on the left upper thigh,
Okay,
and the only time that the patient had spoke to me or said anything while we were in her presence was that her leg hurt.
okay. So were you treating her for any life-threatening injuries or were you treating her for the poison?
The broken,
So were there any life-threatening injuries on her body?
no,
Was there any major swelling, cuts, gashes, bleeding, anything of that nature? So mainly what the problem was treating her for the poison.
Yes.
There wasn't any treatment for any other injuries or anything of that nature. Is that right? And when y'all got her into the ambulance, was she still conscious?
she was, when we got into the ambulance, she started heavily projectile vomiting. And, so after that, she wasn't able to maintain her airway adequately because she kept vomiting. And we worried about aspiration.
Is that when y'all put an airway in her?
Yes,
Okay, so once you got into the ambulance, the vomiting began. Now, in poisonings, is there usually vomiting that occurs?
there can be.
There can be. Does it usually happen shortly after or a long time after they've ingested poison?
It just depends.
Just depends. Okay. So when you got her in there, to be safe, to make sure she didn't choke or drown in her own vomit, y'all put an airway in her. She transported to the hospital. When she got to the hospital, what kind of shape was she in?
She was in stable, what we would consider stable condition, because we were maintaining her airway, making sure that her vitals were stable. So we would consider her stable.
So just to be clear, there weren't any life-threatening injuries on her, that were just the poison part of what you're treating. Was that correct? Okay, absolutely.
Good morning. Yes, good morning. Okay, so you did, observe some injuries, to Naomi once you got in?
Yeah.
And you said her eye, both eyes, one was older, one was newer. The right eye was newer. It appeared to be more recent. The left eye seemed like it was older, correct?
Correct.
And her left eye is where she was complaining of. Did you ever have to touch it?
I did.
Did you notice any reaction to the touch?
That was when she said that her left leg.
Oh, okay, okay. So that appeared to be more recent. A recent injury.
I don't know if it was recent.
Okay, did it show discoloration?
There was a small purple bruise, yeah.
But you have no way of knowing whether that was in the last 24 hours, 48 hours.
Correct, I don't have the time frame.
Okay. And she was not voluntarily harmed. She only answered questions that you all asked. And is that correct?
She answered questions, yes or no, without a shake of her head, yes or no. Because of the heavy salivation, she wasn't able to properly communicate.
She was conscious.
She wasn't on.
At that time, could there have been any internal injuries that you didn't know about?
There's always a potential, yes, but at that particular time, we saw the bruising, but nothing happened.
Okay, but there still could have been internal injuries.
There's always a,
Okay. And you don't know how those injuries occurred, do you?
no,
You don't know when they actually occurred.
pretty much.
The blood that you saw throughout the house, you don't know whose blood it was, do you?
No.
Okay, and footprints in the blood, you don't know whose footprints those were, do you?
She did have dark blood on the bottom of her feet.
But does that necessarily mean she was the only one that could have had the footprint?
That doesn't tell me whose blood it was.
Okay, so the footprint could have been Kelvin's footprint, some of them, correct?
I don't know, I never looked at his feet, I didn't.
So you don't know, for all you know, it could have been. Is that correct? The footprint could have been from Mr. McMahon?
It could have been from either of them in the house, I don't know.
That's it, you don't know for certain.
I
All
just
you know,
that
it could have
she had
been
dry
either
blood
one.
on her feet.
Pardon?
All I know is that she had dry blood on her feet.
Did you see if there was a dry blood under his feet? Okay, you didn't examine, so it could have been.
It could have been, but I didn't examine inside out.
Good answer. Pastor Green, your honor.
Nothing further, Judge.
And say be excused.
Please, Judge.
You're excused, ma'am. Thank you. Next, please.
Our table call, Jacob Lesley. Please state your name for the record.
Jacob Lesley,
And, where do you currently work at?
Beaumont Police Department,
Okay, and how long you worked there for?
a little over 8 years.
And were you at work on the date of June 30th, 2020?
I was,
And Did you get dispatched to a 30 Booker Street in Beaumont?
Yes, that's
And
good.
what was that in reference to?
Initially it was a check welfare.
And when you got there on scene, what'd you find when you got?
Some blood, dried up blood on the front porch, and on the door frame entering the front door of the house.
Did you see anybody else around at that time?
I spoke to the neighbor.
And, were you able to identify him?
I was,
And who was that?
I need a copy of my report so I can reference that.
The name. That help, refresh your memory for you.
Yes. So I made contact with the, neighbor, James Worth.
And, as far as there, so you see blood there on the ground. You made contact with the neighbor, what does he say?
According to Mr. Wortham, he went over to see if he could use, I believe it was a jack. Knocked on the door, that's when he saw the blood and called for us.
And while you're there on scene, do you immediately make entry into the house or what happened?
I do not. We kind of walked around, checked windows, see if we could see anything inside, trying to make contact with somebody inside. Went through some pretty basic steps. There was nothing really driving us in, no obvious disturbance inside or anything like that.
And so, why didn't you immediately make entrance in?
Like I said, there wasn't any circumstance that was driving us aside from dried blood. They could have been a number of things. There wasn't really anything driving us to kick the door in. We kind of wanted to just go through some pretty basic steps as far as making sure that we were okay to go inside.
And could that be dangerous doing something like that,
Yes.
without assessing anything further?
Correct.
So approximately how long did it take for y'all to eventually, gain entry to the home?
I don't know an exact time. I mean, I called the supervisor and notified him of what we had. And then we called fire department out for a forced entry on the front door.
So you called your supervisor, advised, and who's that? Who was supervisor?
It was Sergeant Kenneth.
And you called Sergeant Kenna, advised him what was going on. Did y'all attempt to, make contact through RMS, or did you have dispatch do that?
So I looked up call history, and was able to get some names off of call history and previous reports that were made there for, I believe it was like family violence, offenses and stuff like that.
And when you say call history, can you explain it to a jury? Is that for
So-
that residence?
So anytime there's, an address that we're dispatched to in a CAD, if there's any call history, we can pull up those previous calls and see if a report was done. And then we can also go as far as looking up and reading that report that was done.
So were attempts made to contact individuals inside the home?
Yes,
Yeah.
we tried, what phone numbers were available to us to include, what phone number the neighbor had for the male subject that was inside, that was located inside.
And while speaking with the neighbor, did he advise the last time he had seen had seen Mr. Kelvin McMahon was on, Saturday mowing his grass?
Let's see. Yes, it said that he was last seen on Saturday.
Did he also say that all the owner's vehicles were there at the home as well, appeared to be? Did he mention if he ever saw Mr. McMahon or his girlfriend, Naomi Johnson, if he ever saw them fighting or anything like that?
He said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna refer to my report. Okay, so Mr. Worthing did say that, he knows a couple will frequently be arguing, and on several occasions, the female was attempting to leave and the male would pull her back into the residence.
And as you're speaking with them, your sergeant arrived, did you notice anything moving inside the house at that point?
I didn't see it. I remember him saying that he saw something move, but I personally didn't see it.
And you say him, was that Sergeant King?
Or Sergeant Kennedy, yes.
Kennedy. Now, so the fire department arrives, what happens at that point?
So they forced entry to the door opened. Sergeant Kennedy was in front of me at the time, and I heard him say, "There's a lot of blood." As I peeked around, I saw a lot of dried up blood just inside the doorway. It's like a living area.
And so did you go in the home at that point?
Yes.
When you went inside, what did you observe once you got inside?
We entered through, it was like a living area, and then there was a doorway into the hallway, and there was a male subject, which appeared obviously deceased, laying in that hallway.
And were you able to eventually identify him?
Yes.
And what was his name?
Kelvin McMahon, I believe is how you pronounce it.
And so you see Mr. McMahon laying there on the floor when you walk inside the house in the hallway to the right?
Correct.
And what do you do after that point?
He was obviously deceased. We continued to clear the residence, and to see if there's anybody else inside.
And did you locate anybody else?
Yes.
And who did you locate?
Naomi Audwin.
Also noted Naomi Johnson, is that correct?
I don't know.
Or do you see who you knew as Naomi Audwin, do you see her in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And could you please point her and describe an article of clothing that you wear?
Sitting at this table here, wearing a black, shirt.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the record reflect that the witness identified the defendant.
Yes, it will.
And where did you observe, again, who you knew then as Miss Audwin, where did you observe her?
She was in a bedroom, laying in a bed, towards the front of the house, I guess. It was almost directly from where, Mr. McMahon was laying. It was a bedroom door directly right next to where his body was laying.
And when you saw Mr. McMahon's body, did you notice any blood underneath him?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you observe any marks on him, stab wounds, anything like that?
Yes.
And what did you see?
A laceration or a stab wound would appear to be, on his, left side.
So when you went in the bedroom, Miss Audwin's there, did she say anything at that point?
She was fairly conscious. At one point, she did make a statement, and I'll refer to my report. Her statement was he abuses.
And did she say anything else other than?
No.
Did you notice anything around her at that point?
There was some knives. There was a bottle of antifreeze, like coolant, probably rat poison, some drain clog remover.
Did you also locate what appeared to be a suicide note or letter?
Yes.
And where was that located?
That was on a coffee table in the first living area when you first go into the front door.
Okay, and did you recall what that note said on it?
Yes.
And what did it say on it?
I'm gonna refer and read it directly from our report, if that's okay.
Yeah, what was that?
Dear family, so very sorry about this. So many bad. This was happening to me. I was being beaten. I hope I make it to the new world. Love forever. Naomi, y'all little sis. Cremated, have me no service.
Did it also have a PIN number for Ms. Audwin's bank card written on it?
That's correct.
And you see there, you see two knives, you said some knives on the bed. Were they in a package or outside the package or how?
I think one, I don't recall, exactly, but I believe two of them, I think it was a package of not like 3 knives. 2 of them were in the package, one of them.
Did it appear that there was a large concentration of the blood right there in the front doorway? Is that where most of the blood was concentrated?
That's correct.
Was there kind of footprints in that, within that blood?
It was kind of smeared and, there was, like I said, footprints outside of the door. But most of it right there in the immediate living area.
On Mr. McMahon, did you notice any dried blood on him?
Yes, there was a dry blood that, ran down, the right side of his body.
What would it appear if it had ran down the body like that? What would that suggest?
That he was standing at some point.
It looked like it had been dried for a little while. Were all these events, was that captured on your body cam?
Yes, it was.
I hand you what's been marked, the state's exhibit, and for the record, this is number 13. Going from 1 to 13, we have 2 through 12, so I'll be for the next witness. But, do you recognize that?
Yes,
And what is it?
that's, the body camera, my body camera footage from that.
And have you watched that, prior to coming to court today?
I have,
And you've listened to it?
I have.
And was that made on a device capable of accurately, recording the audio and visual information?
Yes,
And is that an accurate copy of any conversation or statements that took place?
it is.
And do the images contained in the recording fairly and accurately reflect the events shown in the recording?
Yes,
Has it been altered in any manner?
no.
And when was that recording?
Welcome to the Odyssey Navigator document viewer tutorial.
And when was that recording made?
June 30th, 2020.
Your Honor, the offer was been marked, State's Exhibit 13, and there's no objection from the defense. That's to-
No objection.
Admitted.
That's to publish it for the jury at this time.
All right. Links?
It's pretty lengthy, Your Honor. If I could, I would fast forward it to the point where he's making entry into the home as well as when they're bringing defendant out of the home.
Okay.
And leave the jury to watch the record.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes. Hold on, everybody.
You know their name or?
I called the guy named McMahon. I found out, I ain't been looking at long. I used to, hospital for 3 hours. I went over there to get a snack, and I was selling the car, I sold the car about it. That's why I thought.
Let's go look at it real quick. Well, I'm going off of what I saw on call history. There was disturbances between two people. Is it two people that live here? A man and a woman? Okay, yeah, it's gonna be the same. It's a male. Okay, all right. And you said you last saw them about 2 days ago, Saturday?
Like, my actual day was in most of y'all, so.
About what time was that?
I was about to do it.
Well,
Yeah, no, you know, it's still,
does he have medical issues or anything? Nothing else? Are they known to be combative with each other or anything? They fight a lot? Okay. So you
come over here and say, I'm on what's up.
she will or he will?
She was.
She will? Okay, so is it primarily him aggressor towards her or her aggressor?
When they come out, he trying to get away from it. They not arguing, he trying to get away from it.
Okay.
I'm trying to get away from it. I mean, he tried to get her away from it. Okay. Come on in the house. Then he not being like, put your hands on my life.
Okay.
Come on, come on.
But they do argue a lot, you said? Okay. Alright. What about her? Do you know anything about her? Does he,
Me and him would sit out here and drink a beer, you know, we talk about.
do you know her name?
Like,
She white female,
man,
white female?
said, young female, that was her on that voice man.
Okay.
That was her voice.
And, is he black male? He said about 50. About how old is she?
But maybe around the same age.
Okay. Alright, well, what we're doing right now is we got fire department and around, they might have to do 14 because of what we have, we need to go in there and make sure that they're okay. Okay, you're saying there's not any cars missing, there's blood on the door, you know, we need to go make sure they're okay, they don't need medical attention.
Yeah. You have one right there,
Okay.
to your right, above my leg. Someone close out there and close behind me.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna get on.
We got it clear over here, now we have to go over there, I'm gonna cross you. All right. I'm from the kitchen.
Alright, hey, we still got one room back here, Sarge, that we haven't cleared.
All right, listen.
Yeah, go, Sarge, I got this.
All right, I'm going now. How long was your?
Want clear back there? Alright, gonna move up to this other room. Don't step on anything. Hold that. Hold that. Police department. Coming out. Alright, take that room. Go. Stand
Got one ready. One ready? Ma'am, police department. Police department. 433 San Diego. Hey, we need one of those fire guys. We need a medic. Hey, we need a medic. Ma'am, what happened? What happened? What happened? What happened? I'm not sure.
There's weapons in there.
Yeah, there's knives over here. Can you talk to me? Talk to me. What else?
Does he have any knives? Knives on there?
One more time.
He abused me, but he abused me. You get out of your way. Hey, come on, get those knives. Yeah, grab those knives. Make sure there's nothing under the pillows.
What's your name, ma'am? Can you talk to the last morning?
Yeah, there is your knife, swing his legs.
Do you have any injuries? Are you hurt? I need you to talk to me. I need you to talk to me. Are you hurt?
Yeah.
No. Can you have me mess around? I have a blank email, what do you have to box it? Yeah, I can get it on.
Y'all wanna be here, you don't wanna, we got one.
Yeah, this is our role, we need it.
I'm gonna put the drum. Yeah, let's spin it out. Let's spin it out. And what do you do with the rat? What's the rat putting on the bed for? Hey. You gotta take something? You take that rat out for us? What was me?
No, leave it right there, because already is gonna be a know all that.
Hey, later, okay. Now. Hey. Did you try to take that? Yeah. How long ago? Minutes, hours?
I'm trying out.
What's your name, ma'am? I need to know your name. I can't hear you. Your name, Naomi? No.
What's that? What do you need?
You've given us the name, Naomi Audwin.
Oh, yeah, that's what the call history says.
Then I'll help you in there. Okay.
Yeah, you see Peter and then emails in the room. Do what? Like, yeah, there's an obvious laceration right here. Yeah, y'all can give us a time for that too.
Yeah, I'll go. Alright, three, we have contact, we also have BOS.
Temple.
Emergency traffic, where are you at? Medic three, I need 501 emergency traffic, and also can I get a BOS time, we also have another patient.
Twenty oh six.
So we've got half the bag of rack. Let's see, let me get her out of this, you can get price, you don't have to driver. That really looked touched. Yeah, about half, okay, so she stripped full, half of that, ate half of it.
What is that?
This is the right, that one's no polish remember.
Are y'all taking that?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take this.
Okay.
I'll just take a picture of it and put it back. But
If you can do that, I would prefer, because this is gonna be for.
yeah, take a picture of this.
Yeah.
Whatever's the easiest way for y'all to get her out, I need her out. What I need from you guys is I need, okay, no one to come while we're trying to get her out. I know there's other officers out here, tell them a long time, no one is to approach us as we are getting her out.
Through the window?
We're about through the window.
Talking along phone. Hey, they're gonna be taking her out through this bedroom window. They need, anybody that's out there to stand clear. Nobody needs to approach them. 10 floor, they're coming through the bedroom window, closest to that gray F-150.
The monitor that's out front, the cardiac monitor, by the red bag and the green bag, I need that.
Yes, that is my question. It's gonna be a murder, attempted suicide.
Take your man, then you're up.
I'm pretty sure it is. This is Naomi Audwin is her name, off of a prescription pill bottle. That's all the names in the call notes and the call history. I'm assuming this is her boyfriend, fiance, husband.
Is this blood?
No,
Okay.
I haven't checked for the male's name yet in call history. The ex, okay, then this is.
Are they the only two in this residence? We've checked everything else?
Yes, we've checked out all of the
I
rest
just
of
wanted to make sure, I'm sorry.
As far as the witness, or not the witness, the person that called us in, the neighbor, he said that it's a male and a female that live here.
No, you're good, you're good, you're good. We don't put on the boat at all. I know it.
If you want to know what's on it. Don't set up on anything else.
I know, roll call me. Okay. Can you go center the first line? Adjusting for the line. Jefferson and for a side line. How do these get heard? That's fine. Fine, not completely on this side, so this floor piece. Right, you're going to keep coming, hold on, I'm sorry. Yes, you don't. Alex, go outside. Right? Charles, I need to do it. What is that?
What's that? Oh, that is antifreeze. She is. And you got drain clog remover. There's more, alcohol.
This shit, both of them do.
And there's some other, I think so.
I'm gonna have that paper over here.
Y'all got that one too?
That's unopened.
Okay.
That one is unopened. Let me go out front, you are making, Justin will be coming in to handle the COS. If you have any information on it.
Not yet.
Yep.
Go.
There's a deal up there.
I will get it.
I was.
Mercy is up. What I think. Well, car history shows several, Fanny Bond's assaults in here. So, and the first thing she said is, he abused me, so. He beat her? Yeah, she said he abused me. There's your wound right here. She stabbed him or shot his ass. I didn't see a gun, there's a knife between his legs. And there was a package of kitchen knives on the bed.
Yeah.
You took them outside?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a phone ringing in there? Don't think it's up. You made a comment. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff she was trying to take in here. Emery. Emery phone? Oh, let's go. I don't know, but I'm not gonna try to unlock the phone because it's a CLD stuff. I'm gonna put it right back where it was. Good. I'm looking for something with his name on it. Naomi. Oh, Naomi. Naomi. Naomi.
Been a while. There's a bag of broomsticks in the sink. They've already started to rot.
Yeah, he said that I saw him on Saturday.
Oh, shit.
No, not yet. We're looking around, see if we can find something. Just be careful with what you step on, because there's blood everywhere. What? Braylon Audwin. I'm very sorry about this. Many bad. What's happening to me? I was being beaten. I hope make it to the new world. Love forever. I think our number is cremated, have me, no service. Okay. I'm sorry, this channel there. Four thirty, 4:30. Sorry, 4:30. Hey, y'all had the ex-husband out there, give his first name. Yeah, there was, I think they said they had an ex-husband out there. I'm trying to verify if this is him or if this is him. Hey, y'all had an ex-husband or something out there? Yeah, what's his first name?
What's your first name, sir?
Okay. I'm trying to figure out, does he know what this guy's name is?
Do you know what, Rick Baby's name is?
You know what his name is?
I looked in my phone, it's Gil Calhoun,
Kevin Calhoun?
something like that, he on probation where I'm a stop.
Okay.
Who's the guy?
Gonna be, probably
Kevin Calhoun or something like. You turn on.
Officer Lesley, was that, address there that y'all responded to, is that located here in Jefferson County? Yes, sir. Beaumont, in the Jefferson County, Texas. Correct. Fascinating.
Good afternoon, Officer Leslie.
Good afternoon.
How long have you been with BPD?
Just over 8 years.
8 years? And at that time, you were patrol,
Correct.
and your partner was Officer Hodges?
Correct.
Okay. Now, first thing you saw while outside was blood around the door, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that caused concern,
Yes.
because you had been called, there was a 911 call that said someone had gone to the house, no one answered, saw blood on the door sill.
Correct. It was a dead welfare.
Okay, and that's basically what y'all do when you, what's the first thing you do when you do a check welfare?
I mean, I tried to make contact at the residence by knocking, checking windows, trying to make contact with somebody inside.
So that day, did you knock on the front door?
Yes.
Okay, did anyone answer?
No.
Was it you doing the knocking or was it your partner?
I think there were several officers that knocked.
Okay, and, did you find any, how many doors did you find?
There was one in the front and, if I recall correctly, there was one in the back.
Okay, and a patio door?
And a patio sliding door, correct?
Okay, and neither one of those were open? And none of the windows were open?
No.
So the only way to get in was to have a breach by Beaumont Fire?
Sure.
And that was done, a decision was made to do that after you saw the blood?
Yes.
Now, when you saw the blood, were you able to determine whose blood it was?
No.
Okay. So once it could have been Naomi, well, you didn't know who was in the house, did you?
Correct.
Okay. So once you entered the, residence, you saw blood at the door in the first room.
Correct.
That's the living room. And you saw blood down the hall,
I don't recall.
okay? But you saw a lot of blood and footprints.
Yes.
Now, do you know whose footprints it was?
I do not.
Okay, so it could have been, at that time, you didn't know who was bleeding.
No,
Okay.
not upon immediately entering the door.
Okay, so you then saw Kelvin McMahon on the floor.
Correct.
And it was apparent that he was deceased.
Correct.
And you saw blood over his body,
On his body.
on his body.
Correct.
And did you find something, on him?
On him,
Yes.
I,
Oh.
Did you find anything on him?
I,
You didn't search it, okay? Did you observe anything around him?
yes,
What did you notice around him?
there would appear to be some sort of bandage where someone or somebody tried to administer some sort of first aid over them.
Now, okay, do you know who attempted to put the bandage around him?
I do not.
It could have been someone else in the house, correct?
Correct.
Or it could have been him.
Or
So after finding him deceased on the floor, now, did you see a knife in between his legs?
yes, in the video I recall, stating that I saw a knife between his legs.
Okay. Do you recall that incident in your mind without looking at the report?
Without looking at the report,
Uh-huh.
as far as what part, I mean, I
Well-
recall portions of the incident.
That's what it is, yeah.
Some details, no, I don't.
So, do you recall, you said you found a knife pack of 3?
I believe so. On the video, it says, it shows a knife pack of 3 and one of them outside the container.
Okay, which one of the knives did you find between his legs?
I didn't find any of those knives.
Okay, but you did find a knife between the legs?
I stated in my video that there was a knife between. That's correct.
Okay. Did you see that knife anywhere in this video?
I did not see it in the video.
So there were 4 knives. Would that be safe to assume? 3 knives that were in a pack with a small, medium, and large.
Correct.
And a butter knife.
I don't recall what kind of knife. it was.
Was it one with, do you recall if it was one similar to the ones in the pack?
I do not.
Now, can you tell me where in your report it references the knife between the legs?
It's not in.
Why wouldn't that be in your report?
I can't tell you.
In the academy, y'all are taught how to do reports, correct?
Correct.
And you're taught to put all evidence that's found in the report. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that the purpose for that would be for any detectives who get your report to try to put it together, to have the facts as you found them,
Yes.
being one of the first responders.
Yes.
And you were one of the first responders, right? You and your partners, Officer Hall.
Correct.
Okay. And you also know that that document is what would be used by a detective to complete his investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, that document along with others, yes.
Okay. And that document, along with the others, would be submitted to the district attorney's office in the event that a criminal charge was filed. Correct. And with this, criminal charges have been filed, correct? Or they were gonna be filed.
I'm sorry.
So you assume criminal charges were gonna be filed in this case, right?
I mean, yes,
Okay.
I would assume so, yes.
Okay. Okay. Now, in your report, you stated talking to the 911 caller, which was Mr. Wortham, correct?
Correct.
And in that conversation with Mr. Wortham, did he tell you that he had seen several occasions when Naomi would try to leave the residence and he would pull her back into the residence?
That's correct.
He also commented to you that several times she would come to his house just to sit in his carport to get away from Mr. McMahon. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And through your observations and your phone call to find out the name of the individual that was there, you found that there had been several calls made for disturbances at that location. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You had no idea whose blood was on the floor, did you?
No.
There was also blood found in the bed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Whose blood was that?
I don't.
So it could have been How many people were found in the house?
2.
It could have been Naomi's blood. It could have been Kelvin's blood.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you did hear Naomi say, he abused me.
I did.
In the note that you found, you saw, he said he was beating me. Do you know if any of that is true?
I do not.
You had come to the conclusion that day when you were out there, that this was a murder-suicide. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Based on what you had seen over that period of time that you were there. You had not had an opportunity to do any tests on blood to see who was bleeding, correct?
Correct.
You had not evaluated Naomi to check for injuries, had you?
No.
You have no idea how Kelvin received the wound, do you? You have no idea who was responsible for having the poisons in the house, do you?
No.
You have no idea why the poisons were out, do you? You surmise from the fact that she was unconscious in the bed that she had ingested the poisons, correct?
Correct.
And you felt the reason but someone else could have had the poisons there. Kelvin could have had the poisons there, right? He could have.
We could have, yes.
You're not sure, you don't know what she ingested, do you?
Not exactly.
In your report, I didn't see any indications of bruising to Naomi. Did you put that in your report?
I didn't have time. I was trying to get her medical attention. I was trying to get EMTs inside. I didn't really assess her so there was nothing for me to put into my report about that.
Yeah. But a lot was going on. You were just trying to make sure she was safe,
I was trying to get her medical attention.
get her medical attention. You did that. For that, thank you. Many times, you said you've been 6 years, 8 years?
8 years.
8 years. You're a different officer today than you were 8 years ago, correct?
Correct.
You're human. You learn from mistakes. You make mistakes. You learn from them. And you move on. Is that correct?
Correct.
You attempt to protect and serve. Appreciate it. Thank you. Pastor Wood.
Officer Lesley, is it your job to collect evidence there at the crime scene?
No,
Is it your job to photograph that?
no,
Who does that?
we have a ID department that comes out and processes any major crime scene.
And so are they able to collect, photograph all those little fine details that are there at the crime scene?
Yes.
Did, y'all call the ID techs out there, on that date? Did y'all secure the crime scene, until they got there to process it? On your body cam, you're speaking with Mr. Wortham. He said that, I guess there have been several occasions, that she'd come sit under his carport. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that was in your report? Maybe the second paragraph, first page. Is that in your report?
Yes.
And did he also say they knew them to frequently argue with each other?
Correct.
And was that in your report?
Yes.
And you just watched the body cam there and listened to it. Did he also stay on the body cam that when Mr. Mann would call Ms. Johnson back into the house, that he really wouldn't do it? And again, kind of paraphrasing, he really wouldn't be mean about it. He would just, they were arguing, but would just kind of trying to get her back in the house, wouldn't really being mean to her for that. Correct. Now, that wasn't in your report. No. So not everything, little detail is captured in your report, but it's captured on your body camera. That's what.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor, quickly. The ex-husband did state that Mr. McMahon was on probation. Did he tell you that?
Yes, on the body camera.
For assaulting?
For, well, he didn't specify who, he said for assault, I believe, the body.
Okay. And the case knife that was there any blood found on that case knife?
Case knife, I'm sorry,
Butter knife?
the one that was between the blades?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. Was there any blood on either one of the 3 knives that was found?
I don't.
That's all. Pass the witness here.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Is this man excused?
Yes.
You are excused, sir. Thank you.
One more witness, Judge.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat.
State your name for the record, please.
Hargrove.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an ID tech with the Beaumont Police Department.
Are you or are you not a police officer?
I am not a police officer. I'm a
So you're
civilian.
a civilian. So Ms. Hargrove, what does an ID tech for the Beaumont Police Department do?
In short, we process crime scenes. That entails collecting evidence, photographing, video, processing for fingerprints, body fluids.
Back on June 30th of 2020, were you dispatched or sent to an address on Booker Street, 3030 Booker Street in Beaumont?
Yes.
What was the purpose of
Called
you?
in.
What were you called in for?
It was my day off and my the other nighttime, ID tech called in for me to assist her on this call.
Now, you weren't the main ID tech at this scene, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you did not collect all the evidence that we're going to see later on, is
I
that
did
right?
not.
When you got there, what was your purpose in helping the other ID tech?
When I got there, she did a walkthrough of the scene with me and kind of advised me of what was going on, what they knew thus far. And once I was advised, I recorded a video of the scene.
Okay. And yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, when it was Friday, I think, or some day last week, did you watch that video, Miles?
I did.
And look at stage 14, was that a fair and accurate depiction of the videos that you took?
Yes,
Now, was there one video or two videos?
there was 2 videos,
And both of them clearly and accurately depict what you videotaped.
yes.
Why is there 2 videos?
One was of the inside and one was of the outside. Normally you like to try to take one continuous video, but sometimes you can't do it that way. There's too much other stuff going on. But one is of the inside, one is of the outside. It's all of the same scene.
When you do that, do you have, I'd like to say professional movie equipment? What kind of equipment do y'all use?
The cameras that were issued, it's that you can use your camera to record videos as well.
Was the lighting bad in that house?
It was somewhat dim in places, yes.
Did it actually, sometime after y'all were there, get dark? I mean, it was
Yeah.
late in the evening.
Yes, we were there several hours.
Now, when you did a walk through the scene, do you recall seeing where the deceased body was?
Yes.
And where was he located?
To enter the house, you walk in through the front door, and it's kind of like a small living room area. And you hang right into the hall. There's a hallway. You go back toward the front of the house where there's a bedroom. He was in that hallway.
What type of shape was he in whenever you saw him?
While he was deceased.
Okay, did it appear he'd been deceased recently or for a while?
Judging from the dried blood on him, I would say for a little while.
Did you note anything about any bugs or anything crawling around on his face?
There were reference from before. Not to my recollection, I don't recall that.
It may have been the other ID tech. So when you saw him though, what kind of condition? Did you notice a wound on him?
Yes, he had a very large, long puncture wound to his right eye.
Was there also a butternut between his legs?
Yes,
And did you notice whether there was blood on it?
not from where it was on the floor, I wasn't able to tell. until we
Okay.
were able to collect
You didn't
it.
note any on it, did you? I mean, as far as in your report.
I don't believe that I did, I just
Okay.
noted where it was at and what it was.
Now, you said he had something tied around him, did he not? Did he have a t-shirt tied around his waist? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was tied around him, it may have just been displaced because I believe he was drugged from one place to the other.
Okay, why do you think he was drugged from one place to the other?
Because of the way his body was positioned in the hallway, his left arm was underneath him.
So it was
Very
a
awkward.
very awkward position.
Yes.
Was it like somebody who just laid down there or fell?
Not my opinion, no.
Okay. Were there anything like drag marks, white powder on him?
Yes, on his left side,
So does that also kind of indicate that he was dragged somewhere?
in my opinion.
Well, one of the things you did did you go to the hospital and photograph the defendant?
I did,
And do you see that defendant in the courtroom today?
I do.
And can you want her to describe something she's wearing?
The lady at the table here to your right or to my left, she's wearing a long sleeve black jacket.
Record, but she's identified the defendant.
Yes, it will.
And what was the purpose of going to take pictures of her?
To document her state, any injuries that she had or anything about the state that she was in once she left the scene.
Okay, let me show you what's been marked as state's exhibits 2 through 12. See if you recognize those. While we're waiting on that, I forgot the tender states 14, tender states 14, the video of the scene.
No objection.
You're tendering, are you asking it to be admitted in?
Entered
the
in
trial?
evidence, yes, sir.
It's admitted.
Thank you. Well, it's fairly inaccurately depict the defendant as you saw at the hospital,
Yes,
back on June 30th of 2020.
yes.
And now there's some deletions in certain photographs, as they're not covering up
Yes,
with certain private parts of the defendant.
yes,
But
so,
other than that, it's fairly inaccurately depict.
yes.
Tender states 2 through 12, Judge, no.
No objection, Your Honor.
They're admitted.
It states exhibit 2. What are we looking at here?
That is, the defendant's right, this right side of her face.
It's kind of hard to see in this light, but does it appear that there's some bruising right here on her cheek?
Yes,
You can look behind you if you need to. But it appears there's bruising right here,
yes, and
around her eye.
I took a closer up.
States exhibit 3, is this the closer view?
Yeah,
Back up a little bit. Whoops. Hold on, Dennis. Let me turn on the light on this. We're gonna do that. Well, never mind. So is this the bruising around the eye that you photographed?
yes,
And that is her, looks like her right eye?
yes.
And then states exhibit 4, what are we looking at here?
That's gonna be the right side of her throat.
Oh, this is her neck,
Yes,
and you noted some scratching here, it looks like. Is that scratches or cuts?
I don't know what they were, how they got there, but they appeared to be scratches at that time.
Did you label them as very cuts or scratches from a large sharp instrument? You think, you remember?
I need to. Yes, I stated, I observed what appeared to be healing scars, it appeared to be cuts made with a sharp edge on her throat and left wrist.
So you said healing scars? So these were not like fresh where they were like bleeding all over the place?
No,
Okay. Looking at states exhibit 5, what are we looking at here?
that's a little further back, but it's the same area,
Okay.
the right side of her throat.
States exhibit 6,
That's just a wider view of her right side.
so when we look, we can see a little mark here on her leg, right?
Yes,
And looks like there's a mark on her belly right there. Do these,
it's,
were there any substantial wounds that you saw, or anything, stab wounds, cuts, hurts, really big bruises?
no, not in my opinion, no.
Okay. But looking at State's Exhibit 7, what are we looking at here?
That is her left eye, I believe.
This, what is this?
I believe it's bruised.
Okay. Now. Can't tell what caused that bruise, can you?
I do not know what caused the bruise.
But there is a bruise that was noted on her left eye.
Yes,
And looking at State's 8, just a little closer view of it, isn't it?
yes,
That appeared to be a tattoo running underneath it.
yes.
State's Exhibit 9, what are we looking at here?
That's gonna be her left wrist.
And does that show some cuts on it?
Yes,
Looking at State's 10, what is that?
that's just a closer view.
Those look like deep cuts.
I wouldn't know if they're deep or not. They just appear to be scratches or cuts.
I mean, do you see a big scab there somewhere that could cause a lot of blood?
It doesn't appear to be.
Does it look like little scratches across instead of deep cuts?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. And then looking at State's 11, what are we looking at here? Back this up a little bit.
The bottom of her left foot.
What was the purpose of this? What's on the bottom of her foot?
There was a dried, it appeared to be dried blood.
Okay. And looking at State's 12, what are we looking at here?
That is her right foot, also with the dry substance that appeared to be dried blood.
This on the bottom of her feet here?
Yes,
Okay. Did there appear, thank you, Dennis, did there appear to you to be, you've been investigating scenes for a long time, haven't you?
it's been processing.
How long have you been doing this?
It'll be 13 years this month.
Okay. And you've seen people and taken photographs of injuries for a long time, haven't you? And during those 13 years, looking at this, would your opinion be that these are serious injuries?
No, not my opinion. I would not say it.
The bruises, did anybody at the hospital ever tell you that they were treating her for internal injuries or anything other than the poison she took?
No,
Okay. I'll pass with it.
Hargrove, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
13 years, you've seen a lot.
Yes, sir.
Now, have you seen times when there have been injuries to a person, to a victim, and they're not shown outside?
I'm sorry, state that, ask that.
Have you ever known victims to have injuries and there's no indication outside that they're injured?
Yes, sir.
Internal injuries,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And there are times that an injury can cause serious injury or death and not even be visible. Is that correct?
I'm not a physician, but I would think so, yes.
Okay. Those, you don't know how those scratches got on there.
No, sir.
You don't know if they were cuts from an instrument or whether it's abrasions from someone having her around her neck.
Right, I don't know how those marks occur.
Because in your 13 years, you've made decisions and you've drawn opinions, your own opinions, based on what you've seen. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Over the 13 years, have you ever been incorrect?
Probably so.
Okay. And this is an instance, you don't know what happened, do you?
No, sir, I don't.
So you don't know if those were scratches that came as a result of her scratches or coming from someone else, do you?
No, I don't,
Okay.
because I wasn't, no, sir, I don't.
And you also stated it was in your opinion, Mr. McMahon had been drunk.
Yes,
It's also possible that he could have been crawling. Is that correct? It could,
I suppose so.
okay. And you stated one of the reasons you feel that he had been drugged was the position of his arm behind his back.
Yes, sir.
That could have been a result of him trying to tie that T-shirt. Didn't you say there was a T-shirt tied around him?
There was a T-shirt on his abdomen, yes.
And that could have been a result of him trying to tie the T-shirt, is that correct?
That's possible, that's possible.
A lot of what you do, a lot of the procedure or the process in your making your decisions or coming to your conclusions is a result of what others say that's working around you.
It's a combination of us working together and, tossing our ideas based on what we actually see or what we actually think.
And that's natural. In any line, you work with your peers,
Yes,
you trust them
yes,
most of the time. Most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes someone being wrong can cause others to get incorrect information and draw incorrect opinions, correct?
correct.
That's the witness show.
Nothing further this
Is the lady excused?
Please, Judge.
Thank you, ma'am. We're gonna break until 9 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your attention. Please be mindful of the instructions the court has given to you, and we will see you back in the morning. Thank you.